All right, whatever you thought was a big NBA scandal, just forget it. We're about to dive into a story that has it all. We're talking federal indictments, the actual mafia, and a conspiracy that could literally shake the league to its absolute core. This is the NBA Mafia betting scandal. And believe me, the details that are coming out are just wild.
Just read that again. The FBI connecting NBA coaches and players to the actual mafia. And what they've supposedly uncovered is, well, insane. This isn't just about a couple of shady bets, you know? The feds are claiming there's a direct line from NBA insiders to organized crime. The stakes here, they just don't get any higher.
Okay, so who's at the center of this whole firestorm? Well, federal prosecutors have officially unsealed indictments. They're hitting 3 pretty big NBA figures with charges like wire fraud and money laundering. And the first name is one that's probably going to make your jaw drop.
First up, Chauncey Billups. And look, we're not talking about some bench warmer or a guy at the end of his career. This is the current head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, a former NBA champ, a Finals MVP, Mr. Big Shot himself. He's the guy drawing up the plays, making the key decisions every single night.
And then there's Terry Rozier, Scary Terry. He's a starting guard for the Miami Heat, a major player on a huge contract. His performance on the court is absolutely central to what the Heat do, which makes his alleged involvement here, yeah, it's pretty alarming.
The third guy named is Damon Jones. You might remember him as a player, but now he's a coach and a trainer. And here's what's really significant about this. The indictments cover all these different roles, right? You've got a player, a head coach, a trainer. That kind of suggests this whole network could be way, way bigger than just these 3 guys.
So what exactly was being sold here? We're not just talking about who is going to win the game. No. The feds claim this was a super sophisticated operation to leak very specific non-public information. Think about it. Unannounced injuries, who's actually getting minutes, last-second rotation changes, even plans to rest a star player. This is the kind of stuff that gives bettors an almost unbeatable edge. It's literally the NBA's worst nightmare.
So you're probably wondering, how in the world did the FBI even get onto this? Well, this wasn't some lucky break. It was the result of a really methodical, months-long investigation where they basically just followed the money, and that trail of suspicious bets led them all the way to the top.
So here's how it apparently went down. First, the FBI system started flagging these betting patterns that were just way too good to be true. It wasn't just luck. So from there, they traced those winning bets back to bookies. And guess what? These bookies had known mob ties. They followed the money trail through wire transfers. And that trail, well, it led them straight to these NBA guys.
And this seems to be the real core of the FBI's case, the smoking gun, if you will. We're talking about prop bets winning at a rate that's just, it defies all probability. These outcomes are so specific that winning over and over and over again is basically statistically impossible, unless you've got a direct pipeline to inside info.
And again, this wasn't about simple win-loss bets. The investigation zeroed in on these hyper-specific markets. Stuff like the exact number of points a player will score, their rebound totals, even who scores the first basket of the game. I mean, these are things that are almost impossible to predict, unless, of course, you already know the first play that's been drawn up.
Now, it is really important to point out here that both Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier have pleaded not guilty. You know, innocent until proven guilty. Their legal teams are gearing up for a fight, so we should all expect this to be a very, very long battle in the courts.
And as serious as these indictments are, the really scary part is the growing fear that this might just be the tip of the iceberg. You know, this is only what we know so far. There are a ton of reports suggesting the problem could be way more widespread, and that poses a huge systemic threat to the whole league.
And check this out. This is the number that should have every single NBA fan feeling a little uneasy. According to reports, we're talking about more than 20 other league personnel who are currently under federal scrutiny in connection with all this. And that could mean more players, more coaches, maybe even people in the front office. It's staggering.
So how does this whole mess stack up against the biggest betting scandal we've seen in modern NBA history? I mean, everyone remembers the Tim Donaghy case, right? That was bad, for sure, but it was one rogue referee. It was terrible, but it was kind of contained. This situation, though, this alleges a whole network of insiders who are supposedly coordinating directly with the Mafia. See the difference? This isn't just one bad apple. It's a potential rot in the entire system.
Yep, this scandal has gotten so big now that it's no longer just an issue for the NBA or law enforcement to handle. Nope, it has officially made its way to the highest levels of the U.S. government, and you better believe the political pressure is ramping up, and it's ramping up fast.
Get this, the United States Senate Commerce Committee has now launched a formal inquiry. That's a huge deal. They are demanding answers from the NBA. They want to know what the league knew, when they knew it, and how on earth their safeguards could have failed this spectacularly.
And there is a huge deadline looming, November 10th. That's the day the NBA has to give its formal answers back to the Senate. I mean, can you imagine the pressure on Commissioner Adam Silver right now? The league's response is going to be picked apart, and this could easily lead to some very public, very ugly congressional hearings.
So with the indictments, the federal investigations, the political pressure, it's all just mounting. So the big question is, what happens next? Let's take a look at the timeline of what the consequences might be.
Okay, for the teams that are directly involved, the impact is going to be immediate and honestly probably pretty chaotic. You've got the Heat. They're almost certainly going to have to suspend a key player indefinitely. And for the Trailblazers, it's even worse. I mean, how can your head coach stay on the sideline when he's facing these kinds of federal charges? They're probably going to need an interim coach like yesterday, which just throws their entire season into complete turmoil.
So if we look at the road ahead, the timeline is starting to become pretty clear. In the immediate short term, we should expect league suspensions and teams scrambling to adjust. Then, bam, that November 10th Senate deadline hits. After that, settle in because we're looking at court proceedings that could literally take years to play out. And long time, you can absolutely bet on massive, massive changes to the NBA's rules about betting and who has access to insider information.
Which really just leaves us with one final huge question. When you put it all together, the federal indictments, the talk of a widespread network, and these alleged direct links to organized crime, you just have to ask, are we watching the single biggest scandal in modern NBA history unfold right before our eyes? This story is so far from over, and whatever the answer is, it could completely redefine the future of the NBA as we know it.